Hello everybody! Nuked Mushroom is back with another video for you guys. This time I'm going to be bringing you a video with tips on how to improve at Warzone, playing with my friend Creamer, or I like to call him Mr. Assassination. I swear he does this every time we could go on a scav. My boy Creamer actually drops a pretty big game in this video, dropping 20. If you like this video and like to see more like it, or you would like to play with us, like, subscribe, and then comment your Activision ID down below. The first tip I have for you guys is waiting to shoot. A lot of beginners tend to shoot too early, and they give away their position. The rule of thumb for me is that you want to be able to down the guy you're shooting at. It does you absolutely no good if they're able to hide, plate up, and get ready for the gunfight. One of the biggest advantages you could have in a gunfight is the element of surprise. If you're able to down one guy on the other team and take him out, now your team has the numbers and you're more likely to win that gunfight. You are now forcing the other team to make a great play in order to win the gunfight at a disadvantage of numbers. The next tip I have for you guys is to reposition in gunfights. Let's say you got the first shot, you down a guy, you eliminate him. Chances are he has a microphone, he's communicating to his teammates exactly where you are. If you're able to flank, even move just a little bit, you're going to throw them off and you're going to have a huge advantage over them. I see a lot of people make the mistake is they shoot at a guy, they got the advantage now, and they stay in the same exact spot. Chances are the other team is going to be pre-aiming that spot that you were at, and you are already at a disadvantage. All they have to do is hit a couple shots on you, and you're going to go down. My third tip for you guys is one of the most important tips for team gameplay, and that would be communications. Nothing's more frustrating than playing with someone who has horrible comms. For example, instead of using the live ping, which is one of the biggest aspects of this game, they'll say something like right there. They won't even give you any direction on where they're going. If you get downed, one of the worst things you could do is just scream and get mad. Now, this happens to me all the time. But if you're able to collect yourself and give your teammates a ping on where the enemy is, there's a decent chance that they're going to be able to kill the guy, and they're going to be able to pick you up way before he finishes you. The biggest takeaway I can give you from this tip is use your live pings. They are very important in gunfights, and they will help your teammates tremendously. The fourth tip for you guys is for you guys to learn recoil control. This is a very big part of playing on controller, and it can allow you to use guns that you wouldn't be able to use normally. Now, the way you use recoil control is you tug down on your right thumbstick while firing, and it'll help bring the recoil down, so it's a lot easier to control. Also, you should also tap fire from longer ranges. A lot of people try to fire full auto from ranges that are just much too far away to be able to consistently hit your shots like that. That leads us into our next tip, which is to learn the recoil patterns of the guns you use. Different guns have different recoil patterns, which will require you to kind of use different recoil control on the guns. Like some guns go up and to the left, which is like the Kilo and the Ram, which is a little different because most guns in Call of Duty go up and to the right. So when you know the recoil control that you have to use, your shots are going to look a lot more accurate, and you're hardly going to have to deal with any balance on almost any gun. If you ever wonder why pros look like they have almost no recoil, or they're always using the Cronus Max, it's because they have mastered the recoil control of the guns they are using, and they have no issue making it look like it's pretty accurate. Next tip for you guys is to keep your eyes on the minimap. This one may seem obvious, but I actually have a lot of friends who don't look at it as much as they should, or they don't even look at it at all. I look at it at least every 5 to 10 seconds so I know where shots are around me, if there's a vehicle approaching me. This works in not only in Warzone, but pretty much every Call of Duty that I've ever played. So if you keep your eyes on your minimap, you'll also be more aware of where enemies are, and you won't get surprised quite as often.
We can hit them. Yeah.
That brings us to our next tip, which is to work on positioning. A huge advantage in gunfights is whoever has the best positioning in that gunfight. So if you have high ground, you have a hill, you have a building, the other team is already at a huge disadvantage. Even if they're more talented, there's almost nothing they can do if you have the position on them. When I'm playing, I like to try to avoid areas of the map where I'm not going to have any advantage in a gunfight. Like hospital, they got the top of the building. Any fight I'm going to have there is going to be very difficult for me to win. You don't want to be taking too many gunfights where you are on the lower percentage to win. I like to take a lot of high percentage gunfights where I have the first shot. I try to avoid 50-50 gunfights and low percentage gunfights. This tip is extremely important at the end of the game because if you have the better positioning, chances are you are going to win the game because there's not a lot of cover late game. Now, when I get to the 4th and 5th circle, I take a look at the minimap and I see, oh, is there a building? Is there a hill that's going to have the advantage most of the time? And then I try to make my way there. The next tip I have is to jump during gunfights. Now, this may be more difficult to do without a scuff controller, but it is still possible. The problem in this game is when you jump, it seems like your hitbox changes a little bit, and it's a lot harder to hit your target. So if you're able to jump during the gunfight, you're going to put your opponent at a major disadvantage, and you're going to win a lot more 50-50 gunfights. And this tip doesn't just go for submachine gun fights and close range fights. Sometimes I'm in a mid or a long range fight and we're going 50-50 and I'll start jumping because they'll have trouble hitting me and I'll have more opportunity to hit my shots and win that gunfight. The next tip I'm going to give you guys is more of an advanced tip, but in my opinion it is what separates good players from great players, and that is the ability to predict enemy movements. A lot of people just think where they're going to go. If you're able to think where your opponent's going to go and you know before they do, you're going to be at a huge advantage. You're going to be able to pre-aim them and you're going to be able to win that gunfight probably 80-90% of the time. Now if you try to predict enemy movement and you're wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a percentage game, and if you're right more often than not, you're going to win more gunfights. And if you're wrong, you're going to be at a slight disadvantage and you're still going to have a chance to win the gunfight. The last and most important tip I have for you guys is to be fearless. Now, this doesn't mean to get into gunfights that you're going to completely lose. This means you can't be scared to push fights that are at a slight disadvantage or that you may feel uncomfortable doing because it'll make you better. Now, if you want to drop higher kill games like even 15, 20, 30, you can't waste too much time on one gunfight. I see way too many people who crack a guy and they just sit there and let the guy heal. Now, that means you're going to waste more ammo, you're probably going to waste more plates, and you're going to have more chance of losing that gunfight. Other teams are going to perform less consistent if they're surprised or they're ambushed and then they're pushed aggressively by that team. When they have time to just heal, post up, and then come up with a game plan, now you lost all surprise and you're probably not going to win that gunfight, or it's going to be much more difficult. Thank you guys for watching my tip video. I would love to hear your guys' feedback on my videos and how I can make them better. I'm also live on Twitch every day at Nuked_Mushroom, and I'd love for you guys to check out the stream. Thank you and see you next time.